Hello, my dear students. How are you all? I think you are sound and safe by the grace of omnipotent Allah. However, this is Dewan Mahmood Emdad, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Milestone College, Uttara, Dhaka. Today, I am going to deliver a lecture on completing sentences. My dear students, I know you have already got much more information on this very topic from our seasoned and experienced teacher. Today I will not go in for detail, but I will give you some, or I will remind you some of the rules that may help you to complete these sentences. Previously, it was a 5-mark question, but now from revised syllabus we have already known that it is a 7-mark question, and you have to answer 7 incomplete sentences with their blank spaces. Now, my dear students, in order to get 7 out of 7, you have to know some rules that is very important to get 7 out of 7. And for this, first of all, I will just let you solve Select Board test questions. Then I will go for some rules related to these completing sentences. Look at this, my dear student. This is your question number 2 in your revised syllabus, but in your earlier syllabus it was question number 4. And the question pattern is completing sentences using suitable clauses or phrases. Now, my dear students, before going to the mainstream, I want to say what NCTB said about this question, and at the same time what you have to do in order to complete these sentences or incomplete sentences. At the same time, what are the things you need to use in order to fill up the blank spaces. Now stay tuned. My dear students, in order to complete the incomplete sentences, you have to use this type of phrases and clauses. And preferable phrase and clauses are these. Prepositional phrase, you can complete the incomplete sentence using prepositional phrase, then go for noun phrase, then infinitive phrase, then participle phrase. These are basically preferable. And in case of clause, you have the arbitrary will to use conditional clause, adjective clause, adverbial clause, and noun clause, my dear students. So if you know these type of phrases and clauses, you will be able to fill up the incomplete gap given in the question, my dear student. My dear students, I have taken these incomplete sentences from Select Cadet College test question. My dear students, one thing that you have to remember, if the principal clause is in the past tense, the subordinate clause must be in the past tense and vice versa. We have to find out the relevancy of the sentences in order to complete the incomplete sentences. Now come to the point. We will consider these 3 sentences, that is 3 incomplete sentences, and we will try to solve in our own. How we can solve it? Look at this. Look at the first one. Have confidence and work hard. Success will be yours. Nothing impossible. Nothing is impossible for a man who. So we can say have confidence and work hard. Mind it. Success will be yours. Nothing is impossible for a man. So we can definitely write who is hardworking. Who is hardworking. So this is a relevant sentence. Now come to the second one. The boy was indifferent, that is callous. If he had studied hard, you have already known this subordinate clause belongs to third conditional. According to the category, this if clause is belong to subordinate clause. So here, if he had studied hard, so here subject had and V3 is present. So ultimately, this portion is in the past perfect tense. So according to the rule of the conditional, if the first part is past perfect, the second part would be perfect conditional. That is, the second part would be, look at the sentence, the boy was indifferent. If he had studied hard, what would he do? So he would have passed in the examination. So the first portion was in past perfect, so the second portion definitely would be perfect conditional according to the rule of the conditional. Now come to 3. There are many obstacles in your way to success. We must work hard so that. So there are many obstacles in where? In our. There are many obstacles in our way to success. So we must work hard so that. So if we work hard, what can we do? We can overcome the obstacles. So we can definitely write, there are many obstacles in our way to success. We must work hard so that. What can we do? So that we can overcome. We can overcome all obstacles. Okay, my dear students, we will go for more examples. Till then, stay tuned. My dear students, look at more examples. It was long time since. You have already known that before since, if we find past indefinite tense, so after since we have to use past perfect form of the verb. So it was long time since. We can easily write, we had met. Second one, I have missed the flight. Do you know when? So this is basically general asking. So we can easily write, I have missed the flight. Do you know when the next flight will arrive? When the next flight will arrive. Third one, corruption is the main hindrance to development. So corruption is the main obstacles or hindrance to development. It is high time we. So you have already known that if we followed any, like it is high time, it is proper time, it is right time. So you have to use V2, that is verb, past form of the verb. So it is high time. What we can do? We stopped corruption. Or it is high time. We took action against it. We can easily write, we stopped corruption, or we can write, took action against it. The thing is that we have to remember, after it is high time, if we find any subject, that is nominative case, we have to use past form of the verb. That is, it is high time, we stopped corruption, or at the same time, it is high time, we can also take, we took action against it, my dear students. Look at these 4 sentences, my dear students. These are all incomplete sentences. Now come to the point. I went to book fair had you requested me. My dear student, you have already understood that had you requested me. That is, if you had requested me according to the category. So this sentence belongs to basically subjunctive mode, or third conditional, because had you requested me, according to the structure, it belongs to past perfect. So the next portion would be perfect conditional. So we can use a relevant sentence here. I went to book fair, had you requested me. So what would I do? I would have bought some books for you. So this is basically the relevant portion. Now look at these. My mother woke me up. She told me that I would miss the train unless. So I would miss the train. I would miss the train unless I made hurry. Okay. Next sentence. My childhood was full of happiness. Would that. So this sentence is also belong to subjunctive mode. This is my unfulfilled desire or wish. That's why the grammar would be somewhat peculiar type. So my childhood was full of happiness. Would that I were a child again. Okay, next one, last. I think you are not punctual in studies. Be punctual lest. So you have already known the formation of lest and the use of lest. So I think you are not punctual in studies. Be punctual lest you should or might fail in the exam. Fail in the exam. So my dear students, I have already discussed or solved select board test question. Now I will go for detailed discussion and step by step how to use basically completing sentences, or how to use different phrases and clauses in incomplete portion of completing sentences, and I will show you 5 steps how you can use these words or phrases. Until then, stay tuned. My dear students, look at some completing sentences, and first of all, in step 1, I have given you some examples from thematic or coherence. It is thematic or coherence in the sense that one sentence is linked to another sentence. So there is a link and there is a coherence of the sentences from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So here the first sentence is ambition means. So here definition is required. So we have to write ambition means, we can write desire to achieve something. That is our ambition. Sentence B, almost all of us. So almost all of us, what we do? Cherish a particular ambition. So look at the sentence. Almost all of us cherish a particular ambition. Sentence C. Ambition sometimes can be materialized and sometimes your ambition may be fulfilled and sometimes it may be unfulfilled or baffled or foiled. So ambition sometimes can be materialized and sometimes can be hindered. H-I-N-D-A-R-E-D. Okay. And sentence number D. A student having a particular ambition. A student who wishes or who nurses a particular ambition, he must study hard. So we can write in this way: a student having a particular ambition needs to study hard. So look at the sentence. A student having a particular ambition needs to study hard. And last sentence, so we should. What can we do? So we should stick to our ambition. So my dear students, you have to complete this type of sentences in this way because there is a coherence, and that's why I have named it thematic completing sentences, my dear students. Next, I will go for another rule of completing sentences based on conditional. My dear students, I have now discussed, or I will now discuss step 2, that is conditional sentences, that is completing sentences based on conditional. We know all conditionals begin with if, and sometimes had and or may be replaced if. But here we see the first portion, that is the subordinate clause, is in the present tense. In second conditional, the subordinate clause or if clause is in the past tense. And the third conditional, if clause or subordinate clause, past perfect. So according to the category, if the if clause is in the past simple present, the next part would be future indefinite. If clause is in the past indefinite, the next portion would be past conditional. Likewise, if the if clause is in past perfect, the next portion would be, that is the principal clause, would be perfect conditional. Now we will solve it. Now first come to the point. If it rains, so the second portion would be future indefinite. So we can easily say, I will not go outside. So here you see the first portion is in the present tense, so the next portion would be future indefinite tense. So in case of second conditional, the first clause, that is if clause, is in the past indefinite tense. So the next clause or the principal clause would be, what would be? Past conditional. So we can term it future indefinite and here we can term it past conditional. CONDITIONAL. And look at this, if I had much money, I would or could or might, what can I do? Help the poor. Help the poor. And this portion is named past conditional. Here, in if clauses, in third conditional, if the if clauses is in the past perfect, the next portion would be perfect conditional. So the sentence is, if I had been a king, what can I do? I would have or could have or might have helped the poor. And we can term it perfect conditional. And this principal clause can be termed as perfect conditional. Okay, in this way we can complete the incomplete sentences if the sentences begins with this way: if plus present indefinite, if plus past indefinite, if plus perfect, that is past perfect. So I repeat, if clause is in the present indefinite, the next portion will be future indefinite. If the if clause is in the past indefinite, the next portion would be past conditional. If the if clauses is in the past perfect, the next portion would be perfect conditional. My dear students, look at the structure, and if you actually remember it, you will be able to complete sentences with conditional, my dear student. Now, my dear students, using as if and as though in completing sentences. My dear students, you know, if, as if or as though links two clauses, that is principal clause and subordinate clause. So you will remember, if the first part is in the present tense, so the second portion would be past indefinite tense. And this way we can write, he speaks as if or as though he knew everything. I repeat, if the first portion is in the present tense, next portion will be past indefinite tense. Likewise, if the first portion is past indefinite tense, next portion will be past perfect tense. So we can write here, he had, here he spoke as if or as though he had known everything. So here this is past indefinite PI and this is past perfect PP. PPT past perfect tense and PIT past indefinite tense. Again, we can use, my dear students, I have already told you, we can use auxiliary verb with as if or as though. But you have to remember that this type of sentences are formed with a peculiar grammatical rule. And these types of sentences belong to subjunctive mode. So here, he speaks as if, as though. So we can use here, he were mad. You can use these auxiliary verb, were. Here, were is not auxiliary but adjective. He spoke as if or as though, as it is in past indefinite, so next part will be past perfect. So we can say he had been a mad. He had been a mad man. In this way, we can complete this type of incomplete sentence with as if or as though, my dear students. Now, my dear student, come on, and sentences with, that is incomplete sentence with since. Look at the sentence, if the first part of since is present indefinite tense, so the next part will be past indefinite tense. Likewise, if the first part of since is past indefinite tense, next will be past perfect tense. Likewise, if the first part of since is present perfect, next will be past indefinite tense. If since actually is in the last portion of the sentence, the first part would be past indefinite tense. And likewise, if since is used as subordinating conjunction, so next part would be according to the tenses of the first part. So we can now solve it. It is long time since. We can easily say we met, as it is in the present indefinite tense, so next would be past indefinite tense. It is in the past indefinite tense, so next would be past perfect. It was long time since we had met. Again, many days have passed, past present perfect, so next would be past indefinite, since we met. And here the last word is long since, so the first portion would be past indefinite tense. We met long since, or I saw you long since. Likewise, since I was sick, what I could not attend the party. So look at the sentences. It is long time since we met. It was long time since we had met. Many days have passed since we met. We met, or I saw you long since. Since I was sick, I could not attend the party. My dear students, in this way, we can use the incomplete sentence using this type of sentences after since, following the tense of the past portion, my dear students. My dear students, look at incomplete sentences using lest. If any sentence, if you find lest as a subordinating conjunction, what would be the next part as a completing sentence? So look at the example. This is the structure. After lest, you have to use subject, then should or might, then after the should or might, we have to use base form of the verb, then extension. So look at this. The old man walks slowly lest, so we can easily write here, he should or might fall down in the pit, means hole. So look at the sentence. The old man walks slowly lest he should or might fall down in the pit. So remember this structure. My dear students, look at the structure. If any sentence, if you find while, so what can you do? Look at the sentence. I saw a snake while. If you want to use verb to complete the sentence, you have to write I saw a snake while walking where? In the garden. So this is without subject. But if you want to use subject after while, so structure will be different. There you have to write past continuous tense. That is, then we have to write in this way. I saw a snake while I was walking in the garden. So my dear students, it is your own will. You can write while plus verb plus ing, or you can write while plus subject plus verb plus ing, that is in past continuous tense, or you can use, I have already mentioned, while plus verb plus ing, that is while walking in the garden, or you can add while I was working in the garden. Both the sentences are correct. So in regard of completing sentences, my dear students. Now my dear students, and this is completing with it is high time, it is proper time, it is right time. My dear student, if you find after this nominative case, I want to say, if it is like that, it is high time, we. It is proper time, we. It is right time, we. Then you have to use the past form of the verb. So it is high time we changed our food habit. This is similar to this sentence. It is proper time we changed our food habit. It is right time we changed our food habit. But if it is not in the nominative case, if it is in the objective case, that is, you can also use objective case. It is high time for us. It is high time for us. This is an objective case. So then you have to use to before the verb to change our food habit. To change our food habit. So my dear students, in this way you can use incomplete sentences by using this type of sentences. You can omit subject, use object. If you use objective case, you have to use to before the verb. But if you use after it is high time, if you use subjective, that is nominative case, you have to use the past form of the verb. And this is the variation, and you have to remember this variation, my dear student. My dear students, completing with would that. So if you find this type of sentences in your questions, you have to answer in a peculiar way, because these sentences are in the category of subjunctive mode, and their verbs are formed in a peculiar way. Now come to the point. So would that, I can write, would that I were a child. This is correct. Even you can say, would that I could be a child. Even I wish, you can say I were a king. Again you say, if only. If you find in a sentence if only, so the next part will be past indefinite tense. If only I knew. If only I knew her name. So these are the sentence you have to basically do. So or basically complete this way. This is basically irregularly formed, and that's why you have to read it again and again in order to memorize it, my dear students. So my dear students, this is the last step, that is step 5, and it is about proverbs. Sometimes you may find one or two proverbs in your completing sentences, and it's a bit different because you cannot make it yourself. The sentences must have the congruity, that is, you have to write what is it in the dictionary or what is it in English language. Right? A born child, the original sentence would be, the next part would be, a born child, dreads, dreads the fire. You can change this word also. You can say fears the fire and nothing more. Fools rush in where? Where fools rush? Where fools rush? Where angels fear to tread. Tread. You can change only this word. You can write only move. Where angels fear to move. False are thick. Where love is thin. So the man who is drowning, what he does? Catches at a straw. Catches at a straw. S-T-R-A-W. So what is done? Next portion would be cannot be undone. And finally, blessings are not valued until they are gone. So these are the original text you have to write. You are not allowed to change any of the forms. Now come to the point. First one, a born child dreads or fears the fire. Second one, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Faults are thick where love is thin. Then the man who is drowning catches at a straw. What is done cannot be undone. Blessings are not valued until they are gone. My dear students, in this long journey I was with you. My dear students, if you understand and remember all the points that I have already discussed, I think you will get 7 out of 7 in completing sentences. My dear student, no more today. Keep hale and hearty. Till then, Allah Hafiz.